Hey everyone, welcome back. Happy Thursday to you all. Today was a good day. Bitcoin was up nicely, went up to 112,000, came back down a little bit. I think we'll see what happens later on tomorrow and maybe next week as well. Right now we're kind of in pause territory. We're kind of hovering right around that 112,000 mark. We'll see what happens. Are we going to have a little bit of a pause here and Bitcoin goes up later on, or what's going to happen? We'll take a look at it. Miners were in the green for the most part, except for two miners were in the red today. We'll talk about those, obviously. We have a bunch of bullish stories for Bitcoin and miners as well. That all contributes to them. We have stories also from Hive. They got to 9.5 exahash. We'll talk about that. And then Digi Power, I think that's what they're called now. Digi Power also provided a press release about getting some GPUs. We'll talk about that as well. And then we'll get into the miners for their grades on Q1. We'll grade them on regular grades, and then we'll grade them on a curve basically as well. So we have all that to go through. As always, and let's see, volume's up, microphone's on, everything's working today. Let's get into it here, but we got to go through this. Not financial advice for Tim only. Please, please, please do, always do your own research. Full disclosure below that. Hit the like button, subscribe, helps me out tremendously, and doesn't cost you a penny here. All right, let's get into what's going on with Bitcoin here. Bitcoin had another fantastic day today. Let's go to the screen here. We can see that Bitcoin was up nicely here, hit a high, at least on my chart for Coinbase here. Bitcoin was 112,000 exactly to the dime. That was interesting that we got to that, and that is acting as maybe resistance right now. We'll see if we can turn that into support. But we've had a nice rally here. Bitcoin was up another 1.84% today. We did come down a little bit here, not much, but we did come down to a low of 109,217. We closed at 111,722. That is once again our newest all-time high close on the daily for Bitcoin. So that's awesome to see here. And just looking at Bitcoin here right now, we are a little bit overextended here on the RSI, right? Not too bad. We could go sideways on the RSI while the price goes up. We've seen this before as well. So that could play out also. We could also have the same kind of setup here where we go sideways for a number of days, right? Kind of like steps. We did it here sideways, step up, sideways more or less, step up, sideways, step up. And we could see another sideways action going here until maybe like beginning of, towards the end of June here. We got, what, roughly about 8 days left or something like that in the month as it is. So that kind of would coincide with what we've seen here as well, last two times at least. We've gone, what, 8, 9 days, something like that, 10 days. Sideways action a little bit, and then we go up. So we could see the same thing. At that point, the RSI should fall down and give us a little more room to run here. On the forward chart, we can see that the RSI is kind of a little overheated, right above 70 here on that one. 1 hour chart, we were overheated, but we came down while the price actually stayed pretty flat, right, more or less. It went up and down, but overall, if you look at the time here and here, the price is pretty close to where it was, not too far off. So we're kind of flat down a little bit here, but our RSI is way down on that as well. So we do have a little bit more we can possibly run on the 1 hour here. So we could go another, a couple of $1,000s in the upward direction on Bitcoin, get to maybe 115 or something like that, and then go sideways for a little bit like we did here. Because we have had, if you look at it here, the days that we would go up were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we would go sideways, and then here we would go 1, 2, 3, 4. You can almost say 5 here, and then we would go sideways as well. So we have had so far 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days again. So we might go sideways. We'll see. We'll see how this plays out. All right, so that's Bitcoin here. Ethereum was up also nicely today. It was up 1.9. Actually, what did it finish out today? It was up to 4% up today. So it did pretty good. It is battling with the 200 simple day moving average here right now. You can see that. We'll see if that one holds or not. And going down here to the miners here. Bitfarms, a lot of the miners that were in the red yesterday had a green day today. They started out much better in the morning, much higher percentage gains, and then those things came down as the morning actually progressed for a lot of these guys. So Bitfarms was up 0.93%. It's at $1.09 right now. You can see that it did reach a high of $1.15. Closed definitely lower than that. BitDeer here was up 2.24% as well. You can see it started out higher, closed lower. Cypher was up 1.85%. This one actually closed up a little bit higher. Opened up higher, but closed up a little bit lower, not much. Cleanspark, huge candle here on this one. Opened up way much higher. It got to a high of $11.04. It was down 2.37 on the day here. This one seems to be battling with the 200 simple day moving average right now. We tried it yesterday, got rejected. We weren't able to close above it. Today, tried it again, got rejected there. So what's going on there? Are the shorts, doubling down a little bit maybe? Maybe, I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense here why they and Mara would be down here, and we see similar action with Mara as well. CORZ was up just a little bit here, 0.46% as well. This one kind of closed up halfway from where it was actually. Hive was up just a little bit as well. Same action, right? Higher in the morning, closed lower in the day here. HUD8 was up 4.4%. Same action again with this one. IREN was up 4.39%. Another thing, I mean, same thing, right? This one was actually able to close above the 200 simple day moving average. It did try it yesterday. It closed above it today, but it did start out higher and then came down lower. And Mara here, same thing, right? We're seeing the same thing as in Cleanspark, trying to get above the 200 simple day moving average. Got rejected here again. So eventually we will get past that, I think. Just when, I don't know. So I think either it's the algos that are doing it, or the shorts are trying to squeeze them still some more, possibly. We'll see. Riot was up 1.13%. That one, same thing here. It is trying to get above the 200 simple day moving average as well, and started up higher, ended up lower as well. And then Wolf was up 4.6%. This one actually was able to close above the 100 simple day moving average line here, still quite a ways away from the 200. MicroStrategy was down 0.8. Surprisingly, this one's going sideways here for last, 5-7 trading days or so, maybe 8 to 10 days even, if you look at it this way. So that one was down a little bit. Galaxy was up nicely today, 9.16%. It's getting back up to its high here a little bit. Who else was up? Similar was up quite nicely here as well. It was up much higher, then came back down as well. And then this is the blockchain group. This one's doing really good again, up 33% here. On that one, small miners were up for the most part, except for Digihost or Digi Power now. DMG were down, and the ETFs were mixed. DGHI was up today, along with BKCH, where the other two were actually down. I think we had the opposite happen yesterday. Kind of interesting to watch that play out. All right, let's take a look at the Bitcoin network hash rate really quick. We haven't done that in a couple of days as well. See where that's at right now. That is climbing up on the 7-day average. We are back to 874 exahash on it. The 30-day average is climbing back up as well. We are back to 870 exahash as well. So those two are playing the same. Bitcoin right now for the month of May is up 18.31%. Really good month for us. We could definitely go up a little bit higher here. May get to like 20, 24%, somewhere around there. We'll see where we end up at for the month of May. But the second quarter here is looking much better than the first quarter. We're up a total of 34.96, so almost 35% for Q2, which is really good. It's in line with what we've seen in the past. Maybe a little light, but we still have a couple more days here to go. Obviously, still in May, and then we still have June to go through. So it may pick up to where we actually get to like maybe 60%, probably. I'm guessing maybe even north of 40%, but somewhere around maybe 40 and 60% gains in Q2 here. But we'll see. Bitcoin ETF inflows continued. BlackRock, holy cow, they bought yesterday another $530 million worth of Bitcoin. We had a positive inflow of $607 million here overall. This BlackRock is the biggest one there. We'll see what kind of inflows we get from BlackRock for today, tomorrow. But I'm guessing those are going to be positive as well, so that's all good news. Now, let's get into the good news that we have here, the bullish news on Bitcoin, Bitcoin miners as well. A couple of things, there's quite a few things that I want to talk to you guys about that are good. And it's more about adoption, right? We're seeing a constant feed of this happening here recently. I'm sure you guys are aware of this in my streams. We talk about this pretty much daily of all the good stuff that's happening for Bitcoin adoption here, which then translate into good things potentially for the miners as well. First one at bat is right now, H100 Group buys 4.39 Bitcoin and becomes Sweden's first publicly listed Bitcoin treasury company. 4.39 Bitcoin is not much. I mean, you're looking at, roughly $500,000 for that, right? So that's not a huge amount, but still, it's a process. It's a start, right? Especially for Sweden. So that's their first company that has Bitcoin on their treasury, which is great news. Next here we have Jack Dorsey says Square's point of sale system will integrate Bitcoin Lightning soon. BTC payments across the U.S., it's coming. So that's more adoption. More people are going to be able to use it going forward. That's awesome to hear. Then we got this one from Joe Rogan. I'm sure you guys know who Joe Rogan is. This was on, I don't know exactly when this podcast was of his, but he talks about, imagine if Bitcoin becomes the only money worth anything. That's a kind of a scary thought, actually. And it would take a much longer discussion to discuss it, and probably need some input from other people as well. But that would be kind of scary to think about. But it might actually end up that way in our lifetime still. I'm not saying it's going to happen in the next year or two, but it might happen in the next 20, 30, 40 years or something like that. So if you're still relatively young, you might witness this happening to us. But here's what Joe Rogan had to say here really quick.
Imagine if Bitcoin becomes the only money worth anything. And then everybody's like, well, I don't have any of it. Well, your money's not worth shit. You got to get new money. You got to get money in Bitcoin.
That's what's going to happen.
And then there's only a certain amount of Bitcoin, right? Like the Bitcoin number is finite, right? So like maybe there's no Bitcoin for you.
Right.
What the fuck are you talking about?
That's what's going to happen.
That's what's going to happen.
You just predicted the future, Joe.
Yeah, so imagine if that happens, right? Not a great picture at all. Yes, Bitcoin is finite. What does that mean? Well, eventually it might be that one Satoshi is worth whatever it's going to be, 10 cents, a dollar, a penny, whatever it's worth, equivalent to like a US dollar, right? So at that point, you do have a lot more sats that you can use. But Bitcoin-wise, yeah, you only have 21 million Bitcoin that are there. So kind of interesting thought, but also a little bit scary thought, I think, because then what happens to cash, everything else? It's definitely down the road, though. Something we'll have to probably contend with 20, 30, 40 years down the road here. Next, Strategy announces 2.1 billion STRF at the market program. Well, what are they going to be doing with that? They're going to be buying Bitcoin. So that's going to be happening here probably, I'm guessing, next week sometime. They're probably going to announce again. They've been announcing like almost every Monday here recently that they've been buying Bitcoin. So more Bitcoin's going to be taken off exchanges. More of it's going to go into cold wallets. And that's a good thing as exchanges are getting drained. OTCs are getting drained. That's putting a squeeze on Bitcoin, the supply of it. And that's going to mean good things for Bitcoin going up in value. So, we're going to see some good things happening here, I believe. Next here, Trump set to sign orders boosting nuclear power as early as Friday. Bullish for, these are the publicly traded companies there, Oklo, SMR, CG, VST, NNE, and CCJ. Take a look at those maybe, if anything, if this does happen. But we definitely do need more nuclear in this country. We are nowhere near keeping up with the demand that we're going to be seeing here in the next 10, I would say even the next couple of years. But in the next 10, 20, 30 years, we are way behind where China is. And if we want to be able to compete with China and keep China in its place, we need to build out. There's no way of getting around it. We need to build out more nuclear facilities, more power. And we need to make it easier. We need to keep it safe, which it is safe, but make it easier for them to do that and much faster run rate as well. So this would be good because miners need power. Also, data centers need power. We need that. So this would be a good thing, I believe. Next here, publicly traded Chinese automaker, I can't pronounce that, Jiaizhu or something like that, Jiaizhi, holdings to buy 1,000 Bitcoin for treasury, corporate adoption and going parabolic higher, right? Takes just a couple of these guys to start doing that. We're seeing a snowball effect. The snowball's starting to get bigger. We're getting more and more of these reports coming out of these companies putting Bitcoin on their treasury here. So another great news. What does that do? Again, gets Bitcoin off the exchanges, off OTC, and puts it in cold storage, and that's going to drive the price up much higher. Great news there. Next here, Taiwan lawmaker proposes national Bitcoin reserve with 0.1% GDP, roughly 780 million. Country FOMO is here, right? We're seeing that happen as well. So you have this domino effect. Countries, companies, states, people themselves, millionaires, billionaires, everybody and their sister is trying to get Bitcoin right now. And there's just not enough Bitcoin for everybody, right? 21 Bitcoin. You got more than 21 million millionaires in the world. Not all of them can have one Bitcoin here. So stack sats as best you can because the price of Bitcoin is going much higher here. And then 11 trillion BlackRock says Bitcoin will soon be risky not to own. Interesting. What a time to be alive. I agree, right? That is an interesting comment there from possibly the CEO of BlackRock. And yeah, eventually it was going to become risky not to own it because you're going to be left behind. We're seeing companies that adopt Bitcoin Treasury are doing very, very well in the markets, whereas some of the other companies, well, that are not doing as well. Or they're not getting the premium or the appreciation or love, I guess you could say, in the market. So eventually more and more companies are going to have to do that. It's going to be risky for them not to do it going forward. And the next here, we got global money supply is exploding. Tighten your seatbelts. Bitcoin, rocket ship going to the moon here. Let's take a look at this chart here. We are right now at 110,000, 112,000, roughly right around here. If Bitcoin continues to follow the M2 global money supply, we are going much higher, and we are looking at close to possibly 200,000 later on this year. So great news, right? We're still following the M2 money supply here. We do have, you can see the M2 supply here also kind of goes sideways for a little bit, goes up, sideways, and even down at times. But overall, it's trending upwards. And Bitcoin's going to benefit of it. And us, all of us invested in Bitcoin, Bitcoin miners, proxies, MicroStrategy, all of these things, are going to benefit greatly from this as Bitcoin price goes up, right? It's common sense. Well, I would think it's common sense, not always common sense. The reason I say it's common sense, or at least I would think it's common sense, is because I know somebody that recently bought Bitcoin at around 80-some thousand. This was before we went up to 109,000, and then obviously came back down to 78,000, and then they actually ended up selling it at 80-some thousand, just breaking even basically. They didn't hold on to the next rally to go up much higher here. So people don't have the patience, the stomach for it, or the acumen to go in for the long term. They are very acutely aware of the pain that is felt when Bitcoin goes down and you're losing money, right? But at that times, you really need to be buying in, right? When Bitcoin's on sale, it's on sale for a reason. You need to be buying it kind of the same way as you go to a store and things are on sale, 40% off, 30% off. You're more inclined to buy at that point than you are to pay for it when it goes up, 30% up in value, right? You're kind of like, do I really need it? You got to think differently. You got to change your mindset on this, especially on Bitcoin. Bitcoin drops, you got to be buying that thing. All right, so that's good news there for us. Continuation of that. Next here is 5.7 trillion banking giant USB says client interest in Bitcoin and crypto is rising across the board. We are going much higher with Bitcoin, obviously. Yeah, we're seeing a lot more interest. We're seeing a lot more bullish news stories like this and others as well that are going to be driving Bitcoin price up much higher here. So buckle up on that one. And then lastly here, CMB just said retail investors haven't even started buying Bitcoin yet. We are going much higher. Right, retail unfortunately is going to FOMO in, and they're the ones that are going to get hurt when we do come back down, 30%. If we have another cycle like in the past where we go down 60, 70%, they're going to be really feeling it, right? They're going to be, hurt about it, and they're going to be jaded about it as well, and they might not get back into Bitcoin for a while until it's much higher priced again. So learn from those mistakes of others. Do not do the same mistake. Buy Bitcoin when it is going lower. Okay, dollar cost average in as best you can, and continue to hodl the sats. Unless, like I've said before, if you need it to survive, you need it for food, shelter, things like that, go ahead and sell the Bitcoin there if you need to. But otherwise, do not sell and just continue to accumulate as much as you can here because things are definitely getting excited here. So as you can see, there's always, like every day we have a bunch of these stories here coming out of all the bullish sentiment that's happening in Bitcoin, crypto in general, which in turn is going to mean well for the miners as well, I believe. So we should have an exciting next 6 months here, roughly. We'll see where things go. As always, we'll talk about it in the comments if you guys or in the questions part of it as well. But here's some of the stories that we have on the miners here. Hive today reported that they reached a 9.5 exahash milestone, driving shareholder value on path to 25 exahash by the end of 2025 here. So Hive probably announces a new all-time high of 9.5 exahash per second in Bitcoin mining hash rate. This achievement positions Hive above 1% of the global Bitcoin network and marks a pivotal milestone in a transformative journey dedicated to delivering long-term value for shareholders while advancing toward an ambitious 25 exahash goal by the end of the year. And this is great. Hive is finally doing what I've asked them to do for quite a long time, to grow. And they are growing, right? In the past, they were pretty content with being just at 1% of the network hash rate. They are now looking to be roughly around 2% of the network hash rate, which is great. That's awesome to see, and it's going to definitely put them in line with some of the bigger miners. They're still going to be probably at the middle tier of the miners here. When it comes to size, you're going to have Mawson, Cleanspark, IREN being like the top tier there as far as size-wise is concerned, at least here in the next, I would say, 6 months or so. And then you would have like Riot after that, along with like maybe Cypher, Hive here, Bitfarms as well. They're going to be in that kind of ballpark area there. Bitdeer's getting even higher. Bitdeer's getting to like 40-some exahash by the end of the year here. Continue on here, journey of milestone for shareholders. The milestone translates to mining over 4.5 Bitcoin daily, capturing a meaningful share of the network's rewards and reinforcing Hive's position as a top-tier player in the blockchain ecosystem. That is all true there. Building momentum up for the future. By June 2025, the company expects to reach 11.5 exahash, completing the first phase of its expansion with enhanced energy efficiency. So that's good there. Looking ahead, Hive is preparing to launch a second 100 megawatt facility in Yaguzu. I can't pronounce that. By summer 2025, targeting 18 exahash and aiming to capture 2% of the global network. The journey will culminate with a third 100 megawatt campus in Valenzuela, Paraguay, set to drive Hive to its 25 exahash target by Q4. So a lot of growth here happening for Hive this year. And in my opinion, they're still way undervalued from where they really should be. And I'm hoping that this growth they're seeing here will attract some customers and shareholders an interest from institutions as well for them to do that, along with them being now positioned in the United States for reporting reasons as well. All right, so that's it on that one. Wish them all the best there. Next news that we have here is on Digi Power now. I keep saying Digihost. That's just been seared in my brain here over the last couple of years. They were called Digihost, but they're now Digi Power X. And they came out with a news release today. US Data Centers Inc., a subsidiary of Digi Power X, to collaborate with Supermicro for initial deployment of customized B200 GPU infrastructure. They didn't provide much details on this as far as what are they doing there and how many they're getting or anything like that. But they are just announcing that they're going to be collaborating here. So the company has entered into a collaboration with Supermicro to deploy customized B200 GPU rack solutions at the company's newly developed data center in Alabama. The collaboration will begin with an initial deployment targeting operational readiness in 120 days, with the full test operations expected during Q4. This project lays the foundation for a broader expansion at the Alabama site, with plans to scale up to 22 megawatts in 2026 and 55 megawatts by 2027. So that's nothing to sneeze about. That's larger than some of the data centers that are out there, but currently, but not as big as some of the like hyperscalers or anything like that, right? This is definitely a good size for them, for a company of their size. But not much has been provided as far as how are they doing this? Are they funding it themselves? Do they have a customer there? How many are they getting, right? Not much on details, but at least they're doing this. So I wish them all the best there. Just like anybody else that's getting into HPC, I wish them all the best. I hope they get customers for it, and I hope they can make it worthwhile for our investors, shareholders. So we'll have to wait and see how this plays out going forward. They've also been kind of more positioning themselves into a data center play company than Bitcoin mining a little bit less. So going forward, they've also partnered with a SMR, small modular reactor company. Can't remember the name of the company right now off the top of my head, but they're partnering with them. So I don't know if that facility there is going to be powered by SMR. I don't think that's the case, but I know that they're also working with that. So that's kind of interesting there. Something to watch out for on this one. All right, so that's all the news that we have here for the miners and bullish news for Bitcoin and miners in general as well. I love what I'm seeing. Hopefully you guys are loving what you're seeing as well happening here right now. We're in a great time right now, I think. As long as things continue progressing the way they are, we're going to do very well here. All right, let's get into the miners here being graded on the quarterly results here. So quarterly miner metrics scores. We look at operations, we look at growth, Bitcoin mining, hash rate, all those things, efficiencies, everything, along with financials from quarter over quarter to come up with a score for these guys. And then I do a weighted average score as well. For things that I look at, which I think are more important than other things. Okay, so let's get into it here. Quarter over quarter hash rate growth, we have Bitfarms being the best. They installed approximately 6 exahash here. IREN came in at 5 exahash, Hut 8 with 3.8 roughly, Cleanspark at 3.3, and then BitDeer at 3 exahash. Those are like top 5 miners here as far as growth is concerned in the quarter. And then the rest you can see below. Core Scientific actually lost hash rate because they're probably getting rid of some of the older machines there, moving machines around between data centers as well as they prepare for core weave, infrastructure being built out and things like that. Quarter year-to-date hash rate growth, Bitfarms, these are basically the same numbers as these, right? Because we're looking at the beginning of the year to the quarter, so these are the same. Total year-over-year hash rate added, IREN came in number 1, 30 exahash added year-over-year. Marathon came in close second here at 29.7 exahash, and then Cleanspark at 25.1 exahash, Riot at 21, and then we have Bitfarms at 11. Those are the top 5 here for performance, basically year-over-year on hash rate growth. BTC per exahash efficiency here, Hive came in at number 1. Which they historically do very, very well in this metric. Their operations are always great when it comes to that. They utilize their machines to, as close to 100% as they can, which is awesome to see there. But they're not being valued on it. Cleanspark came in second, 47.63. Cypher came in number 3 spot with 45.11, and IREN came in number 4 spot with 44.92, pretty close to that as well. And Bitfarms came in number 5 spot with 41.59. So those are the 5 miners based on efficiencies here. And you can see the other ones down below. And also, based on the scoring for this, right, if you came in number 1, you get 1 point. And then as things progress down the line, you get 2, 3, 4, 5, onto, and so on. BTC mined here, obviously, Marathon's going to come in number 1 here. They're still the largest when it comes to exahash and production of Bitcoin, 2,285 Bitcoin. Cleanspark came in second at 1,156. Riot, 1,530. IREN, 1,513. And then we had Core Scientific 718. So those are like the top 5 there for BTC production. Sats per share, right? What are you actually getting out of that at this point? We can see that Cleanspark came in number 1. You're getting 696 sats per share invested in them. IREN came in second. It was 674. Marathon 649. Riot 428. Core Scientific 197 at that point. Okay, so that's the grading there. Hash rate left. BitDeer still has a lot of hash rate to grow for the remainder of this year and possibly into next year as well. So they got about 27 exahash based on what I'm counting here. IREN's got about 12. I think that's probably down to 10 exahash. I think they're pausing at 50 exahash. They're 40 exahash already. Core Scientific, they're supposed to get the block miners, right? 15 exahash of those. Not sure where that's going to get them to or how that's going to change with them changing out some of the older machines as well. That might change the numbers here, but based on what I have right now, at least, that'll put them in the number 3 spot. Cleanspark still has about 8.6. We know they're going to be growing a little bit more than that, but we don't have anything concrete yet for them. So they're in the number 4 spot, and then Hut 8 has got more growth here as well, and that's going to be going into American BTC for them, right? So 4.7 exahash there currently on it. Now when we look at financials here, compensation for revenue. So we're looking at the compensation paid, SG&A, compared to the total revenue here for the companies, and lower is better, obviously, right? So Cleanspark came in number 1 with 6.46%, IREN number 2 at 10.29%, BitDeer number 3 with 21.94%, Hive with number 4 spot, 27.68% of revenue compared to, or compensation to revenue, and Cypher number 5 spot, 28.84%. And then you can see everybody else down below. Hut 8 did not do good on that. Their revenue was way down, and their overhead was way high. A price to book ratio, Core Scientific is off, right? They're negative 21 because of the amount of debt that they have there and convertible notes and warrants and all that stuff. That's because of that. Hive, pretty good, really good there, 0.719. Bitfarms 0.912, Riot 1.085, IREN 1.461, Marathon 1.477, and then so on. You can see how those have performed there. Current ratio, higher is always better. Hive, really good balance sheet, 10.49. Cleanspark 8.6 as well. It's the number 2 spot. Core 4.2, Riot 3.2, Bitfarms 2.6 there, the top 5 for that. Difference quarter over quarter current ratio. So we want to see that actually increase possibly, right? We don't want it to be too high because if they have too much cash on hand, that means they don't know what to do with it. We actually want them to use it. So you don't want it to be too high, but you don't want it to be too low where you're in trouble of not being able to pay your current debts and things like that. Hut came in at 0.264 improvement quarter over quarter. Hive was actually flat. Also Hive, I don't have data for them for Q1. They're going to be reporting their Q4, which is our Q1, later on, I'm guessing a couple weeks. So towards the end of it, you'll see that Hive is not included in the grades themselves. But I'm just showing you what I have here so far. Cypher was actually down a little bit, 0.16. IREN was down just a little bit, 0.4 as well. And then the rest are down below. Debt to equity ratio, lower is better. Again, Core, there's a reason for it, why this is off the charts here. Riot, really good here, 0.047. Hive, 0.102. Bitfarms, 0.169. Cypher, 0.24. And then IREN, 0.396. Those are the top 5 there. And then debt to equity ratio difference quarter over quarter. You can see how that has played out here. BitDeer, I can't even see that. I think it's 3 something. So we want that lowered. They did lower it here as well. IREN lowered theirs a little bit. Cypher, Riot, and Hive was flat. Hive, again, I don't have the latest data for them. Or Riot was flat, Hive at that point, and then you can see the rest of these guys here. So growth and financial metrics, how do you think all these guys scored on this, right? For growth metrics and financial metrics, things look a little bit different than they have in the past at least. But they're still really good for some of these companies here. So here's what we got. Growth metrics, IREN came in number 1 with 17 points overall. Cleanspark came in number 2 spot with 20 points. Marathon and Bitfarms scored number 3 spot basically with 34 points overall. Riot number 4 with 38, and BitDeer number 5 with 42 points here. Now for financial metrics, we got Riot coming in number 1 here, 26 points. BitDeer 28, along with IREN at 28 points. Then Cleanspark number 3 spot with 30. Cypher at 31, so that's number 4 spot, and Bitfarms scored a 32 with a number 5 spot there. Okay. So those are just the regular metrics based on the scores here. I then look at the combined metrics of the growth and financial metrics scores on these guys. And you got still IREN coming in number 1 here with 45 points. Cleanspark with 50 points, number 2 spot. Riot with 64, along with Bitfarms at 66, and BitDeer at 70. Those are like the top 5 miners here for quarter-over-quarter results on that. You can see the rest, how those guys have scored. And then I also weigh these guys here based on what do I think is more important overall, right? So when we look at the weighting, I'll discuss that down below with you guys here, but here's what we have on the weighted metrics. These are the 7 weighted growth metrics total and the 6 metrics for financials weighted totals. IREN still came in number 1 at 18.5, Cleanspark at 19.5 here. Marathon at number 3 spot with 39.5, BitD at 40, CORZ Scientific at 42.5. So those are like the top 5, at least for me, for weighted metrics. On the 6 metrics financials, I should have taken out Hive here. I did not. I forgot to take it out. So don't count Hive because Hive is looking at their basically the same quarter-over-quarter data. I don't have the latest quarterly data for them yet. So take that one out. We got Riot at 42 points, Cleanspark at 45, IREN at 49, BitD at 54, and Cypher at 55, top 5 on weighted metrics for financials. And then we combine those here. I think I have them down here. I do. So when we look at this here, you can see that I'm giving quarter-over-quarter hash rate growth only a half point, basically, right? A weighting, so 50%. Same thing for year-to-date hash rate growth. Year-to-date hash rate plus half a percentage there. BTC per exahash efficiency, right? I'm looking for miners that are really efficient. I give those a two weight, right? Current ratio also on for the financial side of things, a 2 weight. I want that to be healthy. Debt to equity ratio 2 weight as well. Growth left, I'm looking for growth also, so I give that a 2 weighting. Price to book ratio improvement, company and revenue, right, versus revenue, compensation versus revenue, sorry. I give that a little bit more. And then debt to equity quarter-over-quarter or current ratio quarter-over-quarter, I give it just a 1, the same weighting. BTC mined, I gave that a half, and then BTC per million shares, basically a 1. So that's kind of how I'm weighing things on this. And this is the way things come out at the end here. And that's always stayed the same here for. I haven't changed this in probably, gosh, a year plus now on that. So Cleanspark came in number 1 on the weighted metrics, 64.5 for all the things. Hive came in number 2 with 67. IREN at number 3 with 67.5. So Hive, told you, get rid of that one because that one's not correct information here. I thought I'd removed it from all of these charts here and tables, but I guess I did not. So IREN came in number 2 spot with 67.5, then Riot at 85.5, Bitfarms at 86.5, BitD at 94. Those are the top 5 based on the weighted metrics for both operations and financials here, right? Compare that to the non-weighted metrics. You got a little bit different view take on it at that point, okay? So that is it. A lot of miners are still doing really good. They're still growing. They're still improving their financial situations. Some are still pulling on the ATM, unfortunately. Others are not. Actually, I think only one's not. But they're all doing different things. They're all trying different things, right? Some are just, well, I think we only have one miner now, Cleanspark, that's just a pure play Bitcoin miner here. The rest are kind of trying to get into HPC AI as well, for the most part, and we'll see how that works out. We also have miners that have a HODL position. We have miners that don't have a HODL position or sell a large portion of it historically. So there's a lot of variety, I guess you'd say. There's a lot of stuff that can be done here with these miners, and depending which way you want to go into and things like that, you have a choice, obviously. Now, choose wisely, do your research and all that stuff as always. And I still believe wholeheartedly that the miners will do very well in the next, 3 to 6 months when Bitcoin gets to like possibly 200,000 or something like that. But it's not going to be an easy ride. It's not going to be straight up to the right. It's going to be bumpy along the way. Okay, so that's it. This will be available to the Patreon members. You guys actually have this already today. When I provided you guys with the update from yesterday, this was already in there, so you guys already have this, but I'll provide that out tomorrow as well, because the pricing was updated as well today. So you get the latest pricing on these things and this chart as well. If you'd like to join for that, link is down in the description for it. As always, a couple bucks a month. It helps me out tremendously, and you're helping to support what I do here for you guys. Spend time on all this data. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. So that's all I can ask for. All right, let's get into Q&A. Call it a day after that, and we'll see what else we got to talk about. As always with the questions, if you could preface them with a question mark or a Q, I'd appreciate it. I'm going to scroll my way up on the questions and comments and everything else. I'm going to work my way down as always. So bear with me. I will get to all your guys' questions in time. It just might take me a little while. Sometimes it takes me, 15, 20, 30 minutes, whatever it might take me. All right, let's see where we are at. Okay. Let's see. All right. Talked about that in the comments already. John Kurtz says, hey, Seb, strange trading on the miners today. Sickening. Ion Q up 36. Yeah, it was a little weird today. They were up in the morning, and then as time progressed throughout the morning, they were going down. But the majority of them still stayed in the green here, so that wasn't too bad. JD, hit the thumbs up. I appreciate that. Thank you. Let's see here. Manadija says the play this cycle was to buy and hold Bitcoin. It definitely has worked out that way, right? We'll see if the miners can capture some of the limelight here in the next 6 months. Let's see. Why are miners still down? Well, that's the interesting part here, right? The only thing I can think of why the miners are still down was Bitcoin came down basically after the first of the year. Miners came down double and then some on top of what Bitcoin did here. So we are seeing this kind of, one, the miners are being heavily shorted. They're being leveraged, right, as well. So that's playing into it. But I think it's also the halving event that we had last year still weighed on them a little bit. And then we've seen obviously dilutions from these guys here. We've seen other things as well. So that all plays into it. Bitcoin coming down 30% didn't help, right? We're also seeing extended periods of time where Bitcoin goes sideways and actually down like 30%, where it's 4, 5, 6 months, whatever it is, like we saw last year. We're seeing it again this year, and then Bitcoin goes up. So that's never a good time for the miners, at least not this time around. Last time around, if you look back at the last cycle in 2021, we had Bitcoin go up like parabolically for a number of months, right? Well, I think it was 7, 8, 9 months, something like that. And during that time, we've had a number of corrections, like 30%, but those corrections were quick. They were a couple of days. We corrected 30%, around 30%, and then we continued going up, right? We didn't have this time for the market to breathe and overthink things too much, right? With the miners, which is kind of what we're seeing right now. When you have an extended period of time where the market is going down and it's just slowly bleeding downwards, that's not going to bode well for the miners, which are a leverage play. That's at least what I'm seeing here, at least this time around, right? So what we need to see is Bitcoin go up nicely here on out, and if we do the correction, have those corrections be relatively quick, a couple of days to a week or so, correct, and then go back up. I think the miners can handle that a little bit better than if we go correcting over a number of months here again. So we'll see. Heinze, let's see, Bitcoin up, miners barely sneezed. Time to panic, time to sell, time to load up. I wouldn't say it's time to panic. I don't think it's time to sell. I think it might be time to kind of load up, possibly. We'll see. I'm going to be buying later on in June as well, because that's when I'm going to finally have some cash available to me. But I'm going to be buying as well. Let's see, Chris says, I hate Cleanspark. I don't know if that's the impersonator of Chris or if that's the real Chris here. What else we got here? Bronx says maybe in this cycle, mining stocks will not raise up like MicroStrategy. That's always a possibility, right? We've seen that this cycle is already completely different from what we've seen in the past. We reached a new all-time high in Bitcoin before the halving event. That never happened. We have a lot more institutions in the past and much more adoption than we've had in the past as well. And we've seen extended periods where Bitcoin corrects, right? Instead of a couple of days, it corrects over a number of months. So it is completely different from what we've seen in the past. Marcus says Cleanspark is the only one going up. It's not the only one going up, but it will, I think, as well as the other ones will also. The Bitch82 says, my name is DJ. I bought CORZ in bankruptcy, and so far it is doing better for me than BTC, although I missed the bottom of BTC. Yeah, if you got in during the bankruptcy, and depending when you got into CORZ too, you're probably doing very, very well. My dad got in before the bankruptcy, and then he doubled down in the bankruptcy as well, and he's doing pretty good on that as well. Let's see, Kitewin's energy cost forecast. I don't have anything on that, but that would be interesting to find out what that's going to be like. That's why I'm saying we need more nuclear power plants out there to help out. Kevin's got a question here. How can a possible forecast for Cleanspark energy costs be predicted? What is known about political decisions? Well, I mean, that's going to be on demand, right? Demand, supply, all that plays into it. Depends on the temperatures, the weather also, right? Is it going to be cooler? Is it going to be warmer than predicted? That all plays into it. Especially with them having 30 plus facilities in different, 6, 7 different states or something like that. That's kind of hard to figure out. But maybe they can finally get something worked out with the utilities there, maybe get a little bit of a better deal, maybe You know, they've been helping out the communities and things like that. Maybe they can work something out as they've been with them for a number of years now, right? In the beginning, you're trying to just get in there, so maybe you don't have the strength to negotiate great deals. But I think eventually, when you do provide that you're able to pay your bills and everything else, maybe you can negotiate something. Chris, Scammer Chris is at it again. Cleanspark still number one. All right. Let's see. All right. Miner doing nothing right now. At what point do try like Bitcoin? Well, I hope you guys have Bitcoin as well, right? I hope you guys are not just in the Bitcoin miners. I have Bitcoin. I have actually my portfolio right now is more Bitcoin than it is the miners. There was a point where it got close to the miners being like 50-50 of what I have in Bitcoin. But that's obviously come down, but Bitcoin's still my biggest play here. But I got into Bitcoin back in 2017, 2018, and I held on to that thing. I tried trading it back then. I actually lost on it. I would have had a lot more Bitcoin than I do now. Lesson learned, right? You live and learn all this stuff. So I hope you guys also have Bitcoin as well. If you don't, try getting some more Bitcoin. Let's see. Okay, Roger, question. Bitcoin makes a run up to 280,000. Cleanspark still $10. What's your next move? Oh my gosh, at that point, well, I'm in the green on Cleanspark as is right now. I'm still up like 85% on it. So I'll take the profits on it. I have Bitcoin too, so I'm going to be up on Bitcoin. But yeah, at that point, I may just sell that and I move into something else. You know, might move into quantum stocks or like data center plays or HPCI plays or something. I don't know. We'll have to think about it. All right. Marcus says, I think it can run to 150,000. I think so also. I think 200,000 by the end of the year is also doable here. You think it's kind of pushing it. I think it's towards the upper bounds of it possibly, right? My original goal was 180,000 for this cycle, but with all the adoption and everything else that's happening, I think we might go actually a little bit higher. Okay, Sean's got a question here. Are Bitcoin ETFs any good? And if people buy shares, does it help Bitcoin out for increasing? Yes, because they're buying spot Bitcoin. So yes, it does help at that point. So when you're buying the ETF, are the Bitcoin ETFs any good? I think they're a nice, easy way to get into Bitcoin, especially if you have exchanges or if you're on exchanges that don't offer direct Bitcoin, right? So I think it's an easier way to get exposure to Bitcoin that way. So yeah. All right. Miner DJ says BTC 150,000 and miners 1.5x if lucky. So 1.5x from here. So it's basically a 50% increase, kind of like Bitcoin right now would be more or less 50, a little bit more than 50, less than 50%. Yeah, I mean, that would be like the bare minimum I would think they would do, right? I'm thinking like 2x is kind of like the bare minimum, but we'll see. Okay. All right, how many BTC remain to be mined? I think it's still, what is it, like 1 million something left. I don't know the exact number there. I think we're over 19 million being mined already. So yeah, that leaves us with like a little bit over 1 million here. I'm not exactly sure exactly. All right. Okay, before that, Rogan predicted that fiat going to zero. There will be the wild death of fiat. If the power of creating the money from nothing will now lay down and die peacefully. Okay. My DJ says, yeah, we'll be all long gone by the time the last BTC is mined in year 2130. I thought it was like 2140, maybe somewhere around there. Yeah, something like that. But yeah, I'm going to be long gone unless they can actually fix our genes and we can live, 200, 300 years, which from what I'm seeing, they're not too far away from that. But I mean, do you want to live for that long? I wouldn't mind living for like 100, 150 years or something like that. But yeah, 200 some odd years might be a little bit too long. As long as you're, it wouldn't be too bad, I guess. If you were healthy, right, solid mind as well, right? It wouldn't be too bad. I wouldn't mind working, much longer than I do right now. I enjoy working. I enjoy doing this stuff. I enjoy hanging out with my kids, my wife, the family. So life is good. I'd like to live it as long as I can. Okay, let's see. Sorry, trying to find a question. Okay, question here. Are we better off buying Bitcoin or miners? Bitcoin goes up, miners go down. Like I said, I hope you guys own both, right? So, and if you don't own any Bitcoin, maybe you start getting more Bitcoin a little bit as well, exposure onto it. Miners are supposed to be a proxy play on Bitcoin. At least last cycle they were. This cycle some have done better than others, but we're still not done with this cycle yet. So I'm not willing to wave the white flag and give up on the miners just yet. When we go through this cycle and finish out at the other end of it, and we see that the miners are still underperforming Bitcoin and everything else, then yeah, this cycle was completely different, and we did not get what we were expecting to get. All right, so I would, like I said, try to have both. All right, B82's got a question here. Seb, do you have data that shows each miner's hash rate per share? This would be an interesting chart to see how the top miners actually compare with mid-tier and smaller miners. Oh, I'm trying to think if I have that. I don't think I have that per. So you're looking at exahash per share, basically, how much, or hash rate, or terahash. We could look into it. We could probably roll it down a little bit. I don't have that, but I do have like the BTC mine per share. You can. I think that would be. No, maybe not, because you could have actually more hash rate, but if you're not utilizing it properly, you're mining less Bitcoin because of that. And yeah, but that's an interesting one. That's something I could possibly look into. Let me write that down before I forget. So hash rate per share. All right. Note to self. Hash rate per share. All right. And hopefully my bald head is not blinding you guys with the reflection of it, of the light of it. Luckily I have a small little camera up in the right hand corner, so it shouldn't blind you guys. All right. Let's see. Talked about that already. Triate question here. Streets won't give higher premiums on the miners because they're barely still unprofitable, I guess. They did the same with gold and silver mining. Inks people that is underwater with BTC miners, should they CC to recoup, sell to recoup? I'm guessing. I'm not sure what your question is there. I'm sorry. Let's see here. Seb, look at this X post related to Cleanspark short today. There's another on Mara too by the same guy. Who's putting this short on there on Cleanspark and Mara? Let's see. The Cleanspark director sold approximately 1/3 of his shares. Not a good look. If you look at it, I think, and correct me, maybe I'm wrong here, but I saw that they did have some, was it 13F filings, I think it was. And the directors, they were selling, some executives were selling as well, but I think it was to cover their tax expense on the shares that they received from the company. I believe that was the case. Unless there was one that was different from that. Okay. Let's see. Sorry, I was trying to read the questions here. Eddie's got a question here. Okay. Are miner stocks expected to rally in July, August 2025 following the release of Q2 2025 results? I think they might front run it because a lot of the stuff we already know is, I mean, I track it. I'm not the only one that tracks it. There's others that track it as well. And I'm sure the analysts also track it. And the guys in institutions are probably tracking it as well because it's kind of readily available to do so. So we can kind of see what their EPS is possibly going to be like, the revenues, the gains on FASB for Bitcoin HODL as well. I think they're going to be probably front running that a little bit. And as long as Bitcoin stays up there and Bitcoin goes into Q3 strong, that's going to be, that's going to be a second quarter for them. And in Q4 possibly, it's going to be possibly nice 3 quarters of good EPS numbers for them. So I'm hoping that all helps out. Okay. Koala says miners are way lagging behind and never outperform in this cycle. They have outperformed at times. Right? You got to look at the different time frames where they were up. I'll just say that they were outperforming. We looked at it a little bit yesterday. All right. Sour says miners are only lagging because I bought them. Sorry. Okay. Well, then sell them so we can do better. I'm kidding. I'm sure you had no impact on that. Trade says premium for miners options is insane. 250 contract for 39 DTE. Why aren't you guys not taking advantage of this? Yeah, I don't do options. I sleep easier without options. See who sold here. Mortem, if you really thought Cleanspark was going much higher, why would you sell 1/3 of your shares? I didn't sell. Did somebody sell their shares? Okay, Soda Head I think maybe sold here. Maybe. I'm trying to piece the comments together here. Let's see. M. Rinder says, I went from Mora, Riot, and Cleanspark to full IBIT last year. Best decision ever. Nice. Congratulations there. Let's see. Mark says, I'm still in the red. It doesn't feel like a bull market. Yeah, I mean, if you got in at higher prices, you're still probably red. Like I've said many, many times before, you got a dollar cost to average into these guys, I think. That's the only thing that's saved me, right, over the last 2-3 years or so, is dollar cost averaging into these guys, and I've been able to weather the downtrends much easier than had I not done that. By what percent mark should be close to even right? By what percent mark? I'm not even sure what you mean by that. It might be a conversation you guys are having between yourselves here. Miner says, every few months, Cleanspark does something stupid to ruin investor confidence. They haven't done anything in the last several months. I would say maybe even over a 6 months period of time. They haven't had an ATM since November, I think, of last year that they haven't used. So that should be good, right? I don't know. We'll see. I think that's a lot of good stuff here for Cleanspark. We'll see. Marcus says maybe the run will be July timeframe, or it might be just coiling up right now. We'll see. Emrinder says, feel sorry for folks invested in miners. I was also a strong investor for 2+ years, but stock dilution killed all gains. It didn't help. I will agree there, but we got something for it, I think. It wasn't all bad and gloom. I think a lot of these guys did use it wisely. Some maybe not so, but overall, I think the ones that did do it wisely got much more as far as assets are concerned, much more as in hash rate, all those things which generate more revenue and Bitcoin, especially if Bitcoin goes up in value. So I think that's really good there. Let's see. Right. Let's see. Okay. I quoted you on X to a post showing this. The miner short increase today on Cleanspark was 1.6x, about 14 days average. Double the volume today. They are doubling down. Miners are doubling down. I saw a tweet from Matthew Schultz as well today, where he said that the short interest now is 45%. I think the highest I had them for last time I checked it was like 30-some%. So maybe that is the case that the shorts are doubling down there. But I think it's insanity at this point. Bitcoin's at 112,000 or close to 112,000. That's 111,000 right now, but that's insanity to me. It's like, what was what's the definition of that? What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results, right? All right. Question here from EDB. If CORZ is slowly leaving Bitcoin, why didn't the stock price went up 100% like CoreWeave this month? Well, CoreWeave has a backlog of however 20-some-odd billion dollars for customers, right? That's the reason. That's the reason why CoreWeave is going up and Core isn't. Core is going to be providing infrastructure for CoreWeave with a set contract for a number of years, and it's about, $12 billion? I can't remember the exact number, $14 billion in revenue from that. That's the reason why. CoreWeave is getting the customers. Core Scientific has only Core as a customer there, and that's only for a portion. But CoreWeave is building out with Galaxy right now. They're also building out in Europe, I think in the Arab states as well, somewhere around there. I think they're going to be building out a data center. So they're expanding much faster than what Core Scientific is. Tom Harrison's got a question here. Seb, there were a couple of other Bitcoin guys like you named Blondity and Ivan on YouTube. Any news on what happened to them? Ivan, I didn't follow Ivan. Blondity, yeah, I followed Blondity in the beginning as well, back in 2020, 2019, I think, time frame. I think it was after I can't remember which cycle it was. Was it the 2017 cycle or I think it was 2017 because I was around 2021. So I think it was the 2017 cycle after Bitcoin went up quite nicely and then came crashing down. I think, I don't know what happened to Blondie after that. I don't know if it was just tough on him, if he got a job someplace else. I really don't know. But yeah, Blondie was one of the guys I was following there as well. Would definitely like to see him come back into the space here. Okay, private question. What can I ask that I haven't already several times? Also, nobody knows the future. I sure hope that Bitfarms and Cleanspark will go 4x from or more from here, but who knows? Exactly, yeah. I mean, we can only speculate as far as where we think things are going to go based on just if Bitcoin goes up in value, right? Should these guys be valued much higher? I think so, right? I think we can all agree on that. Yeah, let's see. You do still think so, right? I do, yeah. All right. I think at least the minimum on these guys is a 2x, I think. Bitcoin goes up to 200,000. I think that's the bare minimum we could possibly do. All right. Minus current price, which are your top picks? I think, to be honest with you guys, Hive, Bitfarms are way undervalued in my opinion, right? But there might be reasons for it. Hive might get the appreciation here going forward. I think Cleanspark, IREN are still way undervalued from where they should be, along with like Mara. I would say even Riot in there, Cypher. BitDeer is starting to look a little frothy for me. But those are the ones I would be looking at right now as it is. All right, JR says, hey Seb, happy our confidence is vindicated with recent all-time high. However, can minor shorting explain their underperformance? We should be seeing 5-10% jumps with new all-time high, and we're seeing less thoughts. Depending on the day, right? So today was obviously not a great day for the miners, but we've seen the miners where Bitcoin was actually down 1%, and the miners were up 5, 8, 10%. Right? It doesn't make any sense there either. So it is one of those things where we do have a lot more players. By players, I mean institutions, big guys, hedge funds, all those guys are in this space, and they're, hedging their bets on some miners or hedging their bets on Bitcoin, MicroStrategy as well, and maybe hedging on the miners, right? Going short on those as well. So if there is that kind of a short interest there on those guys, let me see if I can find the tweet there or post on X. Let's go to X here really quick. That you guys were saying about the shorts. Let's see here if this pops up. Okay, Ace of Trades. I think this is the one you're talking about here. Okay, let's take a look at it here. So this is from Ace of Trades. Let's take a look at the screenshot here. And thank you for sending this to me or to my attention. So Cleanspark short interest summary, 1 day short volume 9.74 million, up 93.28%, 1.61 above 14-day average. Short interest steady. 1 week short volume is 5.62 million, 0.89x 14-week average change, negative 42.55%. Short interest steady 1 month, volume 3.9 million, 0.69 times 14-month average change, negative 5.15. So short interest is falling on 1 month. Takeaways, big 1 day spike in shorts, but weekly, monthly trends show cooling bearish pressure, possible short squeeze setup, or reaction to recent price action. All right, so that's actually kind of interesting there, which I kind of thought was maybe the case as well. That shorts are kind of like doubling down here for one last hurrah, maybe, and then eventually they will capitulate and get out of these guys. And we might have a short squeeze because, yeah, I mean, if we're at like Matt Schultz. I wish I would have this up here. Excuse me, throat's starting to get dry. To take a look at it, but if it is 46% short interest, I mean, we're definitely gonna be looking at possible short squeeze on that one. Short analyst for Cleanspark, 1 day analyst says the same thing. This was, I don't know, takeaways. When was this from? But yeah. Well, what I get into the, but yeah, that's interesting. So I also think that the longer time frame we're seeing shorts kind of take off here a little bit, but they're battling with these guys here. They're trying to squeeze as much as they can out of these things. All right, let's go back here to the Q&A. See how many more we got left to go. I'm starting to catch up here a little bit here. Okay, let's see. Rob, yeah, crazy how Cleanspark hit $11 in the morning hours, basically pre-hours, and then fell off the cliff to $10. Thomerson, Seb, excuse me, 2 really good books on energy, The Moral Case for Fossil Fuels, and his most recent one, Fossil Future, by Alex Epstein. Okay, let me see, I'm going to take a screenshot of that for myself. That's going to be easier to do. Okay, I got a screenshot of that. That will let me remind myself to read those. Okay. All right. Question: Why you not start talking in the beginning on MicroStrategy instead of these poop miners that everyone is losing money in? MicroStrategy did not do that well compared to the miners last cycle. That's the main reason why, right? We had no idea what MicroStrategy was going to be doing and how much they're going to be buying here. So it's a little bit over the fact, or after the fact as well. Let's see. Question. Seen Ben's interview on McNally Money saying what we want to hear. However, when are we going to see some more results? They gotta execute, right? They got the $50 million to work towards their HBCI goals. If they can reach some certain milestones, they'll get some more cash into that as well. But it's not going to be a overnight process. It's going to take time. It's going to take, at least, I would say, 3 quarters to 4 quarters, if not longer, for them to be able to do something with getting into HBCI more so. So we might not see a customer until, we might see one announced, but maybe not any fruits of that labor until sometime in 2026 at the earliest at that point. Let's see. Third, Ferguson says, I bought Cleanspark today instead of Hut 8 and go demolished on my day trade. Poop. Cleanspark is in the red at BTC all-time high. Yeah. Shorts, manipulation happening there maybe. I don't know. It was weird, definitely for sure. Sarah says, Seb, if you live to 150, would you be wearing a diaper your last 50 years? Oh, gosh, I hope not. That's what I'm saying. In healthy, mindset and body as well. Yeah, that would not be a great time for sure. Let's see. Artist One says miners are dead. I still disagree. We're not done with this cycle yet. Let the cycle play out. We'll see where we are. If we're still at these levels when the cycle is over with, I'll be the first one to admit that, yeah, this miners did not do as well as we thought they're going to do. Okay. Let's see. We're getting close to the end. Bitcoin miners is like choosing a player on the WNBA over LeBron or Kobe or Jordan, right? I can see your analogy there. How long will miners that want to go towards HBC wait to try and get a deal if Bitcoin keeps up going? Well, they're gonna. It's hard, right? Hard to say how long they're gonna wait, but they wouldn't be going towards this direction if they haven't had, some good signs from conversations they've had with maybe enterprise customers or hyperscalers that gives them the inclination that there is potential there for it, right? It's just a matter of working out the details potentially, right? So I think in time we might see something, but right now we haven't seen anything. And yeah, you start thinking if you don't get a deal and Bitcoin's at 150,000 and, you could have been mining more, generating more revenue that way. Was that the right way to go? But then if you get to like 175,000 per Bitcoin, and you do finally get that deal, but what is that deal like, right? Is it a several $1 million deal per month, or is it a several $1 billion deal per year, right? So it all depends on that, and was it worth it at that point? So if they get a great deal, then it might be worth it for them. Let's see. Couldn't Cleanspark management do a big share buyback and crash these shorts? They could do that, but that would mean probably selling all the Bitcoin that they mine each month as well. And they're still trying to hodl a portion of it and sell a portion of it to fund growth and operations as well. So if they sold all of it, then yeah, they could possibly do that. But how much of that might have an impact there, but you'd have to buy a lot of shares, right? And the small amount that they would be buying would be, like a drip in a bucket, basically. Wouldn't have that much of an impact. You'd have to buy a heck of a lot. All right. Question, Bitcoin miners volume was very high today. It was high. Yeah, there was a lot of trading going on. All right, let's see. Seb, do you own Bitcoin directly or via ETF? I own it directly. Do you see significant advantage for BTC in tax advantage accounts? Yes, for like the ETFs, right? If you can get in a tax advantage account, like a retirement account or something like that, you're probably better off doing it that way. And especially if you try trading it, I don't recommend it. But if you feel like you can time the market better than others, that's a great way to do it, because that way you're not paying gains on it, right? That's a great way to try to do it. Let's see. B82 says miners need profits before doing share buybacks. Yeah. I mean, cash-wise, they're profitable. It's just when you include everything else, that's when they look in the red. Let's see. Steve says Cleanspark is sitting on a ton of cash right now from all the raises. They should buy their own stock. Yeah, but they need that to still fund their growth to, 50 plus exahash, even 60 exahash, something like that. They're still building out sites. They're still doing all that stuff, and they still want to buy more. So I'd rather have them do that than buy the shares back. I'm happy that they're not at least diluting right now. Since November, that's a great sign, and that should, help the stock as well, but we shall see. Dream Enforcer has a question here. Out of Cleanspark, IREN, Mara, Wolf, and CORZ, which 3 would you keep? I would definitely probably keep Cleanspark, IREN, and man, CORZ is going to be, I mean, that's a tough one. Wolf, I mean, Wolf has a deal with Core 42, right? So the big thing is, can they get more customers there potentially? We know that they're going to be growing their Bitcoin mining side of things, so I would take that one out. Mara is big. They have a huge hodl position as well. And they've been improving on efficiencies, but they're still not great at that. And their cost to mine is still pretty high. We'd like to see that come down, but I think it will come down over time with the sites they've been buying up for wind farms, right? So that should lower costs there overall for them. And some of the natural flare gas stuff that they're doing as well, that should help. We'll see how much it does help, though, in the coming quarters. And then CORZ, I would say Cleanspark, IREN, and possibly CORZ if I had CORZ already. If I got into it at a lower cost or something like that, I would probably keep CORZ. Because CORZ is going to start generating revenue from CoreWeave here coming up, and that should help out. And then they're also looking to get into more HPCI as well. So could they get more customers there? And if they do, then the stock's off to the races. So I would probably go that route. Cleanspark would be like a pure play Bitcoin miner. IREN would be like a hybrid Bitcoin miner and potential HPCI. And CORZ is more or less going more towards data centers there. Let's see. Steve says the problem is Bitcoin could chop out before the miners even move, and then the miners will plummet before they even get a chance. There's always a chance for that, yeah. So, I mean, Bitcoin only goes up to 125,000 this cycle, and then we're done for. Then the miners are done for as well, yeah. But, I mean, so if you believe Bitcoin's going up much higher to like 150, 180,000, 200,000 and beyond maybe, then the miners might be a good play. I'll leave it at that. All right. YKY asks, around which month do you think that the cycle is ending to conclude that miners are done? Historically, it would be around November, December of this year. So that's where historically Bitcoin would be topping out. Now, the cycle is already completely different from what we've had in the past. Could it be an extended cycle, which is kind of what I'm leaning towards more and more, meaning that Bitcoin goes up to, let's just say 150,000, corrects 30%, then goes up to 180, 200,000 after that, corrects 30%, goes up, up to 250, 200, whatever it might be, 70,000, corrects after that. And it's just an extended longer cycle where we don't have these 70%, 80% drawdowns in Bitcoin after a parabolic rise, right? We haven't seen that parabolic rise in Bitcoin yet, and we've seen these corrections extending much longer in time frame. So that's kind of why I'm thinking we might have an extended cycle here. What else? Okay, thoughts on Semler? They're becoming a little micro strategy when it comes to Bitcoin and their acquisitions and things like that. I know that they were a medical device company or something like that prior to this, right? So another MicroStrategy. That's our strategy, I guess. What is the current PE of IREN 5? It's less than that. I think it's right around like 3 or something like that. Shouldn't the market give it more as BTC heads much higher? I would think so. Bitcoin at 100,000, 111,000 is still not wowing people. At 150,000 will be newsworthy with more FOMO. I would think so also. But IREN's the only one that's been profitable here the last 2 quarters, right? Having a positive EPS each time. And they're not getting the love for it. Is it that they have the sites that they have are huge, right? They got Clearwater and what is it, Corsicana site as well. Those are, Corsicana has what, like 1 gigawatt, close to that. The Sweetwater sites are like 2 gigawatts, right? Yeah, 2 gigawatts on that. Are those sites maybe too big for hyperscalers even, right? Do they want to have all that infrastructure in one location where it might be better for them to have 100 to 200 megawatts in one region, another facility of 200 megawatts in another region, have it spread out so that way latency is not much of an issue at that point, and it doesn't make more sense for them to do that. So is that the reason? I don't know. It's just, brainstorming right now while I'm thinking about this stuff. All right, Private's got a question. Next big 20% drop, I'm thinking of jumping out of the miners and buying the 2x BTC ETF, which would be about a 20%, 40% down. Of course, the miners will be low too. If BTC goes 20% down, what do you think? If you could try that, right? I mean, that's definitely going to be up to you. I wouldn't do it, but yeah, if Bitcoin goes down 20% or 30%, the miners, will they take a hit like they did just this past, beginning of the year, being down 67%? So that's one of the things I'm also thinking about is like, okay, if Bitcoin gets up to 150,000, do we then correct 30%? Would it make sense to sell at that point, try to time it, and then buy back the miners potentially at a lower price at that point and ride it back up? I don't know. I might do a small amount of that just to try it out, right? Maybe 5% of what I own, just to try to see if I can get close to timing it. Last time around, I sucked at timing, so I don't even want to try it with a large amount, but I might try with something small. I don't know. Something to keep me interested in this stuff. See how things go. All right. Farsky, do you think the miners that hold the most BTC will outperform their peers? Well, tough to say because we haven't seen that happen right now. Mara has the most, right? And they're not being valued on it that much, or at least they're either being valued just on their HODL position, not their operations or the assets they have. So it's hard to tell. But I would think as Bitcoin goes up, their value of the HODL they have there should be valued something. But, with Mara also diluting a lot in order to maintain that HODL and to fund operations and growth, does that also backfire on them there, right? So is a better path to actually sell a portion of it as price goes up? Maybe. I don't know. I really don't know. All right. Dream Force says, thank you. You have the best coverage on the miners anywhere on the net. Much appreciated. Oh, thank you very much. And you're very welcome. And thank you for coming in. All right. I got a couple more questions here. Midwest Thailand. How much does Bitcoin need to be before you give up on the miners if they keep moving like this? We'll definitely see. If Bitcoin gets to 150,000 and the miners are, still not outperforming Bitcoin by at least a certain X multiple, right? I'm not saying it's going to be 2X, but I'm saying at least if they're performing it better by 50% or something like that, then okay, that's still not too bad. But if Bitcoin's up to 150,000, the miners are still lagging behind, then, I don't know what else is going to take for the miners to go up. Do they need Bitcoin to be 200,000? Maybe that's what, finally gets them to rocket up. I don't know. I'm willing to hold on to them until possibly later on this year, towards the end of the year, see where we end up at that point, and we'll make our peace with it at that point, I guess. All right. With Trump in the office and a pro-digital Congress, I doubt the cycle ends in 2025. So you're kind of thinking the way I am, right? With all the adoption and everything else, I'm starting to, like I said, I've been thinking about this for over the last several months, or maybe even going back a half a year now, thinking that this cycle might be an extended one. Time will only tell on that one. All right. IREN says, B82 says, IREN is up since mid-April. Watch them. Yeah, they are up. A lot of the miners are up since mid-April. HODL will be a drag on share price appreciation when miners pump multiple X. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Long weekend may be what shorts are loading. Okay. Why the shorts are loading? That could be it, right? We got Monday off. No trading. Memorial Day weekend here. That might be the case also. Trying to do their shenanigans before that. But all right, guys and gals, thank you so much for coming in as always. Really appreciate you guys, but we're going to call it a day. We're going on over a little bit an hour again. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday. We're still trading on Friday. Monday is going to be an off day, basically. I'll still probably cover the miners on something. Or we'll just see what's going on with Bitcoin and any Bitcoin news that we do have here, as always. And yeah, other than that, I'll see you guys tomorrow. We'll cover something else on the miners metric side of things as well. And see whatever happens to Bitcoin, miners as well, news-wise, bullish-wise, or not. We'll cover it at that point. All right. Greatly appreciate you guys coming in as always. Thank you so much. Love you all. Wish you guys a great night or a great day, depending where you are. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.